Hey there, everybody. Gary from Constricted and Addicted. And today I want to tackle the topic of feeding. And this could be a pretty controversial topic just due to the fact that a lot of people feed their snakes differently. And some people are dead set on the way they feed their snakes. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no wrong way or right way. But I'm going to share with you what I've learned over the years through I have a book from a very well-known snake breeder named Vin Russo. It's called The Complete Boa Constrictor. And in his book, he talks a lot about the feeding of your snakes, frequency, and through all the videos that I've watched and researched, it makes a lot of sense for what I do for my snakes. So again, I want to say that if this is different from what you do, I'm not saying that any other way is wrong. Again, this is just my experience in feeding snakes. So what I want to share with you, Matilda, right? Like Matilda is my normal BI, Boa Imperator. And I'm just gonna, let you see how beautiful she is. I got Matilda when she was 5 months old. And Matilda is a year and a half old right now. And this to me is a properly sized year and a half old snake. She's not big. She's not obese. She definitely has that loaf of bread look to her. And again, just look at those beautiful, beautiful markings, her underbelly, and of course, the tail. And once again, this will be another topic, but just because Matilda has an orange or red tail, that does not make her a red tail boa. She is a Boa Imperator, which is different from the Boa Constrictor, or true red tail boa. But back to the feeding, what I want to share with you is what I do and the frequency of the way I feed my snakes. And I have to look at it like this. My snakes, they get fed every 2 weeks, the smaller snakes, my baby snakes. So the way I see it is that when you have a snake that is out in the wild and it wakes up and it comes out of hibernation, whatever, chances are it's not feeding once a week. Chances are it's probably getting maybe 1 to 2 meals a month. And in the realm of most of my boa constrictors, I have locality dwarf boas. So they're in areas where food is a lot less accessible than inland area where common boa constrictor may have more access to food than, say, a dwarf locality boa. So I have several dwarf locality boas, and the dwarf locality boa is basically a animal that if you traced its lineage back, it would come back to the area through its lineage of where it originally came from. And a lot of them, like I said, a lot of my boa constrictors won't get over 5 or 6 feet long. So, and that's because they don't have an abundance of food supply. So as a captive bred animal, I'm not going to feed my snakes once a week. I have a Tamaulipas cloud forest boa. I have a Suriname true red tail. I have 2, I got 2 of those. I have a Nicaraguan. I have a Bolivian. And I have my ground boas. God, I'm drawing a blank on their names. But anyways, so I've got all these snakes that they don't have the same access to food as, say, Matilda would in the wild. So they get fed twice a week. And what that does is that allows their systems to properly digest the food. They're not the most active animals in the world, so I have to take that into consideration, and they survive, right? Like, I don't have any snakes that are, cruising around their enclosure looking for food after 4 or 5 days. And again, I don't have any obese boas. But one thing I have to remember and take a look at is that this boa constrictor can have the same problems as a human being when it overeats. It can have high cholesterol. It could have heart problems, clogged arteries. The whole gambit of overeating can happen to a boa constrictor. And the other thing is that if you overfeed a boa constrictor, they get bigger quicker, they get slower, their metabolism slows down, and then next thing you know, they become lethargic. You really shorten the lifespan of your snakes when you overfeed them. So as a baby, like I said, I am feeding my snakes every 14 days, every other Saturday, and usually I post a video of the feedings. I do not feed my snakes live animals. Personally, I'm not the guy that wants to sit there and listen to a rodent suffer. So I do it humanely. I buy rodents in quantity, and then I take care of them, and I freeze them. And if anybody's wondering, yes, the rodents are right next to the ice cream. But the reality is that frozen thawed is the perfect way to feed a boa constrictor, in my opinion, because I don't have to worry about my animal getting hurt, because you've got another animal in there that's fighting for its life. And when this animal wants to constrict around it, the other one is got teeth that will sink its teeth into the snake, cause infection, and that's another whole can of worms for a snake. So none of my snakes have been fed live animals. I should say none of the current snakes that I have right now have been fed live animals. Typically, when a boa constrictor is born, you have to feed it live pinkies to get it to eat. Usually the pinkies can't hurt the snake, but once you've fed them 1 or 2 or 3 times, then you can transition over and get them going pretty good. I've actually gotten snakes from people, and they have told me that their snakes have never been fed frozen thawed. And I've taken that animal within the first feeding and fed it frozen thawed, and never had to feed it a live animal at all. So yeah, for me, it's I feed all my snakes frozen thawed, and what I do is I've done a video of my granddaughter and I getting ready. We prep everything. We set them in water. We get them to about room temperature. I have a temp gun. We temp the rodents to make sure that they're at 98 degrees or so, and then we just put them right in front of them, and I kind of play with the snakes with it. You know, once they grab it, with the tongs, I'll hold on to it and play tug of war with it, and they, maybe it gives them the illusion that they're taking down a live animal. I don't know, but they've never refused it. And so again, I space it out, and what I feed my snakes is no larger than the largest part of their body. Matilda has been eating large mice, and I think it's time for me to get her on weaned mice or weaned rats at this point. I do not want to be feeding my snakes pinkies or anything that has been nursing by its mother, because from my understanding that the milk can go bad inside of the rodent, and then you feed it to your snake and it could cause damage to your snake somehow. So I don't like drinking sour milk, and I don't want them doing it. So for the purpose of just knowledge that I've heard, I don't feed them pinkies or any sort of a rodent that's still feeding from its mother. I like to take the weaned, and that's why I start off with mice. I'll start off with small mice, and that's for my smaller snakes. The mediums obviously are for a medium sized, and then the large mice would be for someone like Matilda. And then once I get into the weaned rats, the small rats, the medium rats, and the large rats, that goes for my larger constrictors, and so forth. Now, the reality is, I've talked about this before, that boa constrictors, I don't consider them to be large snakes. The proper feeding of this snake, Matilda can get between 6 and 8 feet long, but she doesn't need to be that big around. And the frequency of feeding that I do with Matilda, she might not get 8 feet long. She might only get 6 feet long and be perfectly healthy at 6 feet long. There's just no reason for her to be that big if nature does not intend for her to be that big. My snakes thrive on their feeding schedules. Matilda gets fed every 3 weeks. She gets fed every 3 weeks, and she's absolutely healthy, content. She does not show any sort of, hey, I'm looking for food. She's beautiful. Look at, let's do some more footage on her. She's got beautiful speckling. See if I can bring her head in. Matilda is a jungle super hypo, and I do have plans for breeding this snake with my call albino, but she's got probably another 2.5 to 3 years before that happens. And that's what a big problem with feeding can be. Some people want to power feed their snakes to get them bigger, to get them into a breeding size much quicker than they should be. The reality is that you can have, problems with your snake. I mean, more than just the breeding cycle, but health issues, heart issues. You can just have a whole slew of health problems with a snake that's been power fed. So again, this is my opinion, and this is just my experience with this. I don't overfeed my snakes. If that doesn't work for you, that's okay. It's what works for me. It's what works for my snakes. They are very, very healthy. My larger snakes, Coconut and Max, I'm talking about 5-foot snakes. They get fed once a month, and they're very content with that. So I hope this video helped out a little bit. I think I touched on everything that I need to. Like I said, size of prey is extremely important. I don't want my snake to have a lump in it that it's carrying around. Think about that. When you go to the buffet, right? You eat so much food, your stomach is pouching out, and I know that I've done it before, and I want to be rolled to the car, right? Well, I don't want my snake to feel like that. I don't want my snake to feel like it's so full that it's just uncomfortable. So the prey that I feed my snake leaves a very slight lump. Not a large lump, but a very slight lump in its abdomen where you can see that, it has been fed, but it's not so large that it's uncomfortable for the snake. So, yeah. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody. It's been really cool. I had a ton of positive feedback on my first video, and I'm really excited and happy and grateful for that, you guys. I was very skeptical about doing a video about my snakes. I mean, you guys see my snakes posted all the time, and I thought, who wants to see me doing videos with my snakes? And the response was actually really cool. So I really want to thank everybody who took the time to watch the video, who took the time to comment on it, and give me the encouragement to continue to do this. I really appreciate it. I love my snakes. Some people don't love snakes, but you know what? Some people are interested in snakes, or they're curious, or they're whatever it is. They're just curious, right? And maybe the videos that I'm doing will help some misinformation, and maybe help people to understand them a little better and realize that they're not as bad as people make them out to be. They're beautiful animals. They're not cats and dogs. They don't come by their name. But you know what? For someone like me, and I know there's a lot of people like me out there, they give me a lot of joy. So I hope you guys are having a great day. We'll talk to you later.